The Queen of Boston writes, Unitarian Universalists have a role to play as healers and repairers in the broken world we have inherited from our ancestors. Our congregations have a role to play as places to practice, to rehearse beloved community for the benefit of future generations. Sometimes rehearsal looks like this. Thank you. I want to name that one of the deep, true gifts of Unitarian Universalism is that we are an emergent faith tradition. And so in times such as these, we are able to turn towards each other in a deep, faithful comfort and say, yep, revelation is ever unfolding. And still, sometimes it's hard to move into the next new thing. A dear friend shared the story with me, and she said I could share it with you today. Her coworker's father had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the forgetting disease, and very early on forgot who his wife of almost 50 years was. When the children would come to visit, she would take them aside and confide in them that he didn't know who the woman living with him was, and could they please ask her to leave? It was a painful situation for the family. Salud. Now, one of the gifts of the home in which they lived was a fully fenced-in backyard where this man could walk the family dog without getting lost. And on a walk with the dog one day, the man pulled out his cell phone and called an old friend. Listen, he said, there's a woman living with me who seems really sad and anxious and worried all the time. I thought about you and how you're always so joyful and kind and caring and make everyone feel heard and at ease and loved. I wondered if you'd mind stopping by the house sometime to check on her and spend a little time cheering her up. Back in the house, on the other end of the phone, his wife said simply, sure, hon, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you, he said. I knew you would. You're the most caring person I know. And in that moment, his wife let go of all that was blocking her loving potential. She let go of the angst and anxiety eating at her because of how she thought it was supposed to be, how she thought they should grow old together. She embraced that deep, loving truth that although her husband could no longer remember her name, her face, her relationship to him, he knew who she was, the essential spirit of her, joyful and kind, the most caring person he knew. In that moment of unexpected grace, she was able to choose to live generously with the daily struggles. Friends, religious community offers us the opportunity to know and be known deeply and fully. It doesn't make our daily struggles go away, but it can give us what we need to nurture our courage to live with loving hearts, to practice spiritual abundance in the midst of a moment that tells us there's not enough, that we are not enough. Right now, our faith and this religious community can sustain us through our struggles and the discombobulation of the shifts into new ways of being together. Beloveds, you are precious, precious. And so is your neighbor, and we're all in this together. There's a great gift in realizing the power of our faith together. Westside begins with we, and you'll hear a lot about that in the coming weeks. And we're all in this together, reaching out to our community care clusters, our covenant group beloveds, our ukulele loving friends. I see you. With calls, with emails, with Zooms, with baskets of food and flowers left on doorknobs and love notes slid under doors and dropped in the mailbox. Listen, after Hurricane Katrina and the federal flood of 2005, just spit it all out there, the mail stopped being delivered for months where I lived. And for those of us able to return to the city, We would catch up with long-lost neighbors as we stood in hours-long lines at the distribution centers that kept changing for us to pick up our mail. Y'all, I still remember the first day I heard the sound of mail dropping through my letterbox onto the floor. I leapt for joy. Not metaphorically, I mean leapt for joy. And I was so grateful for those times to catch up, for that slowing down that allowed me to know how my neighbors were, and in some cases, who my neighbors were. I invite us all to let this break in the familiar bring us back to ways of connecting that we may have let go of in the frenetic rush of modern life, and trust that we will joyfully celebrate each other. Perhaps some of us will leap for joy when we return to gathering again in the large corporate body that is Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation. In Bringing Gifts, a publication of the Latinx Unitarian Universalist Network Alliance, LUNA, the Reverend Peter Morales wrote, "We humans are deeply, fundamentally, inescapably relational beings. Our spirituality, our experiences of the sacred revolve around how we relate to ourselves, to each other, to the cosmos. With tenderness and holy curiosity, we are invited to be deeply mindful of how we relate to ourselves, to each other, and to the cosmos for the foreseeable future. May this strange time of spending time at home, gathering only in very small groups, give us perspective on our values and our heart's longings. And may we remain champions for everyone for whom the best practices instructions have no meaning right now. Those who have no place to call home, no running water with which to wash their hands, no health insurance. May we continue to pour our care into this community, perhaps more intentionally than ever before. Theologian Galen Gungers describes Unitarian Universalist concepts of religion as two distinct but related impulses, a sense of awe and a sense of obligation. The feeling of awe, he writes, emerges from our experience of the grandeur of life and the mystery of the divine. This feeling becomes religious when a shared sense of obligation lays claim to us and we feel a duty to the larger life. When we hold each other up like the redwoods who weave their roots together for strength. This religious sense of obligation, grounded with wonder, wakes us up from the great deception of alienation, of otherness and separation. Awake to our relationship with all creation, we can no longer live as if our ideas matter more than our actions. We are called not only to love an abstract beloved community, but to love this community of beloveds. Sharing our stories with each other is holy work. In this way, we come to know deep in the bones of our bones that we are not alone, that our lives matter. Beloveds, thank you for your courage and compassion for each other in this moment. Check in regularly. Know that you are loved. Know that you are loved deeply and dearly. I am with you. Your religious professional beloveds are with you. Your board is with you. You are with each other, and we are all together. Westside begins with we, and here we are, together. Amen, Ashe, blessed be.